Um, my bad, my camera suddenly. Right. Hola Madridistas. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. Um, a very convincing win. I would argue one of the best performances of the season. We would have taken it a bit easy, but Villarreal, had to rile us up. Had to ask for it, and we delivered. It wasn't the usual winning games this season, especially at home, when we see that the opponent has given up and they're not playing much of a dirty game. We just go easy on them. But like I said, Villarreal asked for it, and we gave it to them, and we gave it to them in a fashion that would stick onto their minds for a long, long time. All from the crowd. Boos for Alex Baena getting subbed off, rightfully so. No sympathy for him. Yeah, man. Nice little gestures from everyone in the crowd, the players. It just added that little something that probably would have been missing from a typically high intensity game. But if you look at Villarreal on the table, they're 14th. They really haven't had a great start to their campaign. Had to, I think, replace their manager. I think last month or a month and a half ago or something. So it hasn't been smooth sailing for them. And yeah, man, we took absolute advantage. So many star performances. We'll get into it. But before that, if you're new here, you know the drill. Smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 2K. Welcome, my esteemed panel, Mo and Farouk. I'll come to you, Farouk. How are you feeling, man? Like, what are the initial thoughts?
Yeah,
4-1
man,
win.
it's not even the scoreline, man. As you just mentioned, man, it's the entertainment as we always talk about. Eventually football is it's an entertainment business, and boy, were we entertained today, as you mentioned. It was the crowd, the players, and yeah, it was a fantastic performance. Yeah, obviously there is the sad part with David Alaba and
So,
maybe even the
no sympathy.
Ferland Mendy as well, but it was a really really good performance.
There you go, Mo. Quick thoughts.
Yeah, first of all, as is tradition, I have to just praise Farouk for being here, for gracing us with his presence. But with that out of the line, I completely agree with what you said. Today was and today was a good game for us, and I think the score line is like incredible, and I just enjoyed watching it. Like every time we play Villarreal, I think I'm a little bit apprehensive about how this is gonna go. I was just like before the match, I was looking at some stats, and it was like we have lost. We have only won 3 times against them in the last 10 games, so I think that's a pretty poor record for Real Madrid against any team. Especially a team like Villarreal, which although good, isn't like you wouldn't classify them in the top echelon of European teams. So I was pretty apprehensive, and I was like, I will have to do this live after watching that game, and I don't know what the results would be. The last time I actually kind of watched Villarreal was, I think, at the start of the year when I had gone to India, to visit some family, and I was watching with my cousin who's a Barcelona fan, and we lost to them. So it was like it wasn't a good experience. So for me, facing them today, brought some, I was a little bit apprehensive, but the way we delivered, I think, was pretty good. And the only sad note is, yeah, Alaba getting injured. Last week, I was probably a little bit harsh on him, but Alaba in a class, he's a class player. You have to admit it. So I think his loss especially puts us in a difficult position, with only 2 fit centre backs. So I don't know how we'll solve it, but overall, man, the result is pretty good apart from the Alaba injury.
It's funny how life works. It just reminds you of how it can humble you. Just a week later, we were very keen on pointing out Alaba's flaws. Now, a week later, without Alaba, it's looking peak. Of the depth, especially in the centre back department, doesn't look great. We'll get into it. We'll get into some of our potential, call ups from the academy. But Mo, most actually posted in the chat that our names are kind of mixed up, yours and mine, on the OBS, but it's fine. It's just something small. But
Yeah.
for tonight, you can be Suned. Just try and feel how it's like to be me, for a day. I would, take the pleasure of being you as well, being a little more pragmatic with how you approach things. But yeah, big up the chat, man. Big up Moss as well. Also, we didn't record, right, Farouk? we forgot to record, right? It's all good, but now there's nothing you can do. I just remembered it. It was all in a
I think
people.
we can download the YouTube video from YouTube and get the audio. So it's not
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, 100%. It was kind of a rush people because Jacob was away on vacay, so we had to kind of cook this up last minute. But yeah, let's dive straight into the game, man. How the game started, it looked pretty even. The game was pretty even until Luka did what he did. We had a few half chances. Our pressing was exceptional tonight. I'll tell you, like especially the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we were just onto them. Luka Modric, had a very advanced role, almost playing as one of our auxiliary strikers. And it worked. They tried to be a bit calm on the ball and whatnot. We didn't have any of that. We just said we are gonna completely get into their faces, test their metal, and they crumpled, man. They crumpled hard, and that's why I think their players were very, very salty and they got riled up for no reason, basically. Yeah, just changed my mic setting, but yeah, Mo, I'll come to you, man. Like, let's walk through straight away. The first goal, right? Luka Modric, he tried his level best to set up Rodrigo with a couple of nice low crosses into the box. He was just like a yard away or something. Luka Modric was super bright tonight, especially drifting out wide, taking up even central spaces inside the box. He was all over the place, especially in and around the box. But that touch, basically, that finesse to exactly know where Jude is going to be, the weight of the ball, the flight of the ball, like how good was that?
Yeah, it reminded me of the goal that Benzema scored against Chelsea, if you remember, at Stamford Bridge, off of Modric's assist. I think Modric is an incredibly special player. I'm not telling anything new here, coming out with breaking news or something. So the ball that he played for Jude was incredible. I think also Jude had a chance where he missed earlier in the half. If you guys remember, it took a weak header, if you guys remember that. So
he had so much time. He didn't think he had much time.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. So I think him scoring that goal also kind of brought relief to him, and I think it speaks volumes to Luka Modric's ability because he laid it on a silver platter for him. All Jude had to do was place the ball and get a goal. But we continue to. I think we do not like. It is not intentional, but I think there is no way words can do justice to what Modric brings to the team and what abilities he has. And he just continues to keep showing it. And even today, there have been talks about this being potentially Modric's last season at Real Madrid.
Who was that? Like I didn't see any credible sources, but it's being lobbed on by guys like Give Me Sport and Goal. So I don't trust them.
I heard the commentators speak about him confirming, but I don't know. Like you said, right? Even I haven't seen anything credible. Probably I have to look it up and double check stuff. But it isn't wild to assume it could potentially be his last season, because he's been not getting let's say enough starts. Modric is a competitive animal, so players like him always want to start, and they are not going to take sitting on the bench lightly. So it isn't wild to assume that he wouldn't be here. I hope he's here next season as well. But if he's not here, I hope he ends up with at least a Champions League or something. Not too much to ask. I'm not really at all.
Yeah, man. We all want happy endings to our heroes, but we just know how life works. We just know football works even more so. It can be pretty cutthroat at the top level. But Farouk, man, Modric, so many people called his best. Years are beyond him. But this game is, again, a very friendly reminder that he still has it.
Yeah, definitely. Luka Modric has shown back the years, and as Mo just, told us that Luka Modric is an exceptional player. There's something that we never knew until today. So thank you, Mo, for the revelation about Luka Modric. It's highly welcome. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Luka,
I was Sunil for the day, so I had to, put out some. just letting guys, it's fixed. So I'm more maybe Sunil back.
Yeah, actually, for me, one thing actually I thought about is maybe you guys felt the same or not, but it's like it actually brings me back to the the classical we lost 4-0 at the Bernabeu where Luka Modric started as a false nine. I kind of felt like this was what Ancelotti had in mind because as you guys said like the press was existing for basically around 80 minutes of the whole 90. And
Mm,
like Luka Modric was at the forefront of the press. Like the man is like 1 million years old, and like it was like a press in unison. This is the thing,
mm,
like you're not pressing as an individual, you're pressing as a unit, you
yeah,
know. And this
yeah,
press was led by none other than Luka Modric, and the pass and all this, it's perfect, but it just goes to show that like as they say, form is temporary, but class is permanent. Like Luka Modric is something else, honestly. And if this is gonna be his last season, like I really, hope he goes out at the very, very top.
100%, man. Like you said, he was almost like a trigger. Like I'm not sure if that was intentional, or that was tactical, but it reminded me of how Benzema used to orchestrate our press, and Luka Modric was that guy. Like I could see his teammates actually looked towards him. To press in cohesion. To press in unison, like you mentioned. But yeah, man. Again, that pass, like one more also alluded to, like we have seen it countless times, and yeah, man, it just takes your breath away. Uh, the slightest of touches, the slightest of feints, it just works. It just works. But big up the chat, big up every single one of you. Let me get to a few of the comments. Most was saying more new look. Hassan was here. Big up Hassan. He was mentioning 5 months into the season, and we potentially have a third ACL in the men's team. What the fuck is going on? Well, we'll get into it. Honestly, that's the biggest dampener on the night. On a night where we should be, drinking up this victory. Last home game of 2023, we should be, absolutely over the moon. But this puts a slight bittersweet, twist to proceedings, especially the thing with Alaba and add Fylan Mendy's niggle right at the end of the first. After that, it just doesn't look great. Especially our depth in multiple areas across our back line. We'll get into it. Hassan was also mentioning, did Laporta pay the people who changed the pitch to hide a dead hyena there? I can't think of another explanation. Well, I don't know about the pitch, man. See, there has been many people claiming that the pitch isn't in tip-top condition. Even at the beginning of the season, like it has had a fair few people slipping, fair few people going down with knocks, with niggles, with seemingly absolutely no physical contact, right? So there is something wrong. I can tell you that as a layman. I'm not a pitch or a grass expert like Barcelona's coach claims to be, but I can say from watching it on the TV, it just doesn't give enough footing to some of the players. They just lose footing so easily. Ricardo was also mentioning Fede again, man. He continues to go under the radar, constantly covering in midfield and the entire right flank. Vasquez, who I'm not too fond of, also had a very good game. Kudos to him. Well, since we're on the topic, man, we have always sung our praises regarding Fede. Again, that cross to Rodrigo, he should bury it. I think the Villarreal goalkeeper, he's super young. What was his name? I wrote down his name. Jorgensen, right? Like he's like 21 or something. He really had a great game. Really had some stellar one-on-one saves. But that cross from Fede to Rodrigo, he should bury it, and he should be thanking Fede with free nachos for the rest of the year. It's only seven to 10 days, but free nachos for maybe 2024 with that cross, because it was absolutely a peach. Yeah, man, that's some of the highlights that would pop up into people's minds post games. But like we have mentioned, the work rate, the stuff that goes under the radar, like you mentioned, Ricardo, it just is too good to miss out on. More, man, Fede for tonight. Stellar performance again. Alex Baena, a familiar villain, familiar foe, on his flank, he handled him.
Yeah, I think Fede had a brilliant game. It's like last year we saw a different version of Fede, which was like more attacking, more offensive. He was playing on the right wing. He was playing as a, let's say, the most advanced midfielder for us. scoring goals, but this season he's like completely changed his game to accommodate for the fact that Jude Bellingham has been on a tear. So Ancelotti has used him like a little bit he has retreated him a little bit down the field, and he's performed again. And now with the injury crisis, with the Camavinga out, with Tchouaméni out, although Tchouaméni came back today, but with these guys out, somebody had to step in, help out Cruz. Being the DM, I think Fede Valverde has done himself complete justice, especially in the defensive aspects of the game. And he's even covering for the missing Carvajal now, because at the start of the season we were like, Carvajal is performing so well because Fede is helping him out. But Lucas Vazquez, I think today, for all good that he did, he was helped out a lot by Fede Valverde, and Fede Valverde gave him the freedom to Lucas to be playing almost as a pseudo right winger. So I think you cannot really describe how good defensively Fede was today, and do him justice, because Fede's game, especially when it comes to the defensive side, it's incredibly difficult to describe. Defense, you don't really have stats to measure the defensive impact that players have, but Fede if you watch the game, you know it. And I think Fede plugged in a lot of holes. He was even dropping between defenders and playing almost like a defensive mid.
Collecting the ball from Lunin at one point. I remember that.
Yeah. So previously we have had doubts about him playing as a pivot or something, but although that's an entirely different discussion. But I think today he did himself justice. He showed himself well, and I think Fede Valverde is on the right track. There's a reason why he's Ancelotti's most trusted player, is always on the pitch. Although I would prefer him to get a rest sometime, because we don't really want any more injuries, as somebody mentioned in the comments. So I think Fede Valverde, incredible performance. I hope he continues to do that.
100%. But my slight gripe would be that I know it's a very slight gripe, because he has been running the entire game. For the goal, I know he he misjudges where the ball is going to go, and he completely misses his footing, and the ball goes through him. He tried to reach it, but he couldn't. But the reaction after that is a jog. It could be fatigue, it could be low on stamina, all of that. Everybody was jogging, apart from Nacho and Rudiger. Even Nacho and Rudiger didn't know what was going on. So the goal that we conceded could be a calamity of multiple errors. I wouldn't exactly pin on him, but in that very moment I was like, Fede, man, you should be hounding him down. The guy who laid off the ball to
For me personally, I felt that it was like because we lost Follow Mendy, and with how offensive, high up the pitch Fran Garcia tends to be, our defense kind of got stretched, and there were holes, and I think Villarreal did well to exploit them. I was more surprised the fact that after the second goal, when they really didn't get a sniff, they weren't able to exploit it any further. So I think our players adjusted pretty well. When Mendy went off, this was the first thought that came into my mind. Defensively, without a defensive midfielder, I think Mendy is incredibly important. But now Tchouaméni is back. Although today at the start he showed some rusty signs, but let's hope he gets into the thick of things, and going forward we don't really miss Mendy too much.
Yeah, 100%. You have a point that France's introduction kind of left us needing a bit of an adjusting period to get into shape again. But yeah, man,
I'm seeing now. It seems like the ACL has been confirmed.
For Alaba?
Confirmed? Okay.
Like Carlo Ancelotti is saying at his press conference, this is the first time it happened to me. 3 of my players straight tearing the ACLs. And then he goes on further to say Tchouaméni is the first option after the centre backs in an emergency, and now it's an emergency, he can play there.
Yeah, man, I think it's a
and even more fun. Sorry, just to complete the whole thing. Interestingly, Hope is saying that Marvel has trained with the first team, but he's also going to be out injured.
He's out injured, yeah. Always out injured. We have a few prospects from the academy. Go on, Mo.
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly funny situation. Sad but funny. The thing is, we at Real Madrid, we've gone from Real Madrid Club de Football to Real Madrid Club of Injuries, or maybe Club of Hospital or something like that, because we have 5 ACLs right now. It's Militao, Courtois, then Alaba, and then 2 players on the women's side as well, Carlo Inver and Carla Camacho. So I think it's surreal that we have had so many ACL injuries. I've never seen a single team have so many injuries in one season. Not even one season, 6 months.
Can I ask you something more? Can you you guys have better memory than I do? So I want to ask you, did Militao get injured at home? He did, right?
I think he got injured in the game, but I don't really think it has to do with the turf. I know you're going there.
I don't know, man. I just have
I
a very
want to
bad
ask you,
bad
like, you
feeling.
make a very valid point that like no team has had like 3 ACLs at once. But like from a medical perspective, like why is it the case? Like because it's not about. I don't think it's about the workload. Because, for example, we saw what happened today with David
David
Alaba.
Alaba.
Like it's. I mean, that's just a freak injury. Like it's something that you repeat 1 million times and it never happens again. So it's
You
kind of
know,
weird.
the thing is like it just happens. You really can't say, oh yeah, this could be done to prevent it. It's like it's a freak injury, you know. If you watch the way Alaba gets injured, his foot gets stuck in the ground. So sometimes
Yeah.
this happens to players. You know, you can't really do that. So it's sports. It happens. There's nothing that can be done to prevent it. If it was a muscular injury, you could have said, they could have done some better preparation or anything. But you know, it is what it is. You can't really do anything. And you know, the thing is like, although Militao and Alaba got injured in the game, I think Courtois got injured while training. So, you know, you can get injured anywhere. It hasn't got to do anything with, you know, being in a particular place or anything. So with regards to prospects and stuff, I think Marvel. From what I've seen, I don't really see Ancelotti bringing up because I think
Yeah.
there have been better players from Castilla that Ancelotti hasn't really
There's
trusted.
Asensio, there is Edgar. You know, there's people who can do a
For
job.
me personally, I think that if like Alaba's once we know his complete status, because I think right now they are suspecting that it's a MRI, but sorry, ACL injury, but they still have to do the MRI and stuff like that. So that'll probably be done. So probably they'll know better like what kind of injury he has and what duration he'll be out for. So once they do, I think January transfer window could be potentially be important because I think there's always an option of bringing Rafa Marin back from Alaves because you can't really go into half the season with two center backs. You know, although you know, regardless of how good Tchouaméni is a center back, you really don't expect to face the big teams in Champions League. Let's say PSG or Bayern.
No
or,
chance.
You know, City with Tchouaméni as your center back. So for me, I think the club should at least look at into the market. I don't really expect them to bring in any big name signings, but you know, bringing in some cover should be at least the minimum.
But it's not exactly as easy as getting a second string goalkeeper, is it? Right? Like to get a centre back that is of a decent level, who isn't exactly getting minutes and who would like to move mid-season for pastures new would be
a certain Rafael Varane exists somewhere in United, sitting somewhere.
I don't think that's
I'll tell you, Farouk, something. You know, this is one of the fantasies I had that if something happens, probably Real Madrid could bring in Rafael Varane. But the thing is, like, I was actually reading an article with the Athletic that when Varane went to United, they did, they do the physical, right? They found out that he had a lot of injuries in his knees, so it's kind of risky. So I don't really think Real Madrid is going to bring him back. For me personally, I think one player to look out for is probably bringing back Rafa Marin from loan at Alaves, because you need someone
Ramos,
to cover.
man. But yeah,
I don't think Ramos is coming back. Come on. Although we can all dream and fantasize about it, but the relationship between him and his agent and with his thing at Sevilla
and Perez especially is not great.
Yeah, the relationship
if things
between
were
Perez
great,
and his brother. That's
if things were great, it would be the perfect. Oh my God, the perfect, plug gap option. But yeah, it is what it is. Let's move on. I don't want to dwell on this negativity. I'll be honest, but we do have a few prospects in the academy. I asked some of the people who regularly watch Castilla, and they said we don't have to be so terrified of what lays ahead in the beginning of 2024. Guys like Asensio, Edgar has been pretty solid for the Castilla side. They tell me,
Slade, I always love your optimism. We went to the game against Union Berlin where you have literally nothing to play for. Jude Bellingham picked up a yellow card because they decided to play him for 90 minutes. Where are the prospects you're talking about? If there is the definition of a dead robber,
but this is an emergency. That's quite alarming, right, Farouk? It's not exactly like our attacking.
Tell me this. Jude gets a suspension in the UCL game. Where is your sub for him?
Yeah. I know. Man, you shouldn't be asking me all this, right? I'm just putting forth. I'm just putting forth.
On a different tack from what Farouk went, I think while Edgar Puyol and Raul Asensio are two good prospects, but I think they aren't at a level that they can play for Real Madrid first team right now, especially in big games. Although whoever we bring is not going to be a starter or anything. but you need some credible cover. And I think Rafa Marin has some experience of playing in the first division. I think the only question is like, do Real Madrid think it is worthwhile bringing him back? Possibly sabotaging his development because of the game time he would be getting at Alaves, and bringing him back at Real Madrid where he potentially might not be getting any game time because obviously Nacho and Rudiger are gonna be ahead of him. So I think that's the only question. Apart from that, when it comes to Castilla, I don't really think they're gonna get a chance because A, I don't really think they're at the level required, and B, as Farouk rightly pointed out, Ancelotti and Castilla players are like, there's an allergy there. So he probably have to prop in some Benetons before he decides to play them.
But yeah, know, since you actually mentioned Carlo Ancelotti, like, I kind of feel like I would demand this, like, we have one loss, I think, in 23 games this year, and like, it's basically half of his first team is out. I think there is no coach in world football you can point to with 5 first team players out, and he loses one game in 23 matches. I think there is no coach, honestly.
Sven, did the sun rise from the west today or something?
Yeah, you
I have no idea. It's fucking pitch black. But I should probably look into my weather app. But
what I'm wondering is, has Farouk been kidnapped by aliens or something?
I don't know. Maybe Francesco, has been listening, and he sent his couple of henchmen to his place over at Milan. But let me tell you this: that there's a few guys at Castilla that we might think they may not be up to the level, but if really we can't bring anyone in January, that's the only way it's going to go. Unfortunately, we'll have to really pray that like how Carlo managed the first half of the season, he manages the second half, because it's incredibly important that we build upon this. Because again, like last season, I have the deja vu coming back, right? We go on an incredible run. We have a phenomenal start of the season, and then we peter off, which happened in 2015. Again, I just don't want that to happen. And even 2015, we had injuries to some key players, Modric, Bale, to name a few. But this year, I think the team has enough character in them to carry themselves over the line in games that needs, carrying over. But in the Champions League, I reckon we need definite quality, definite bang for the buck signing, a bang for the buck signing for January to really cover some gaping holes. I'm pretty sure it's going to rise, because the fixture list is not going to look like this going into March. It's going to be super congested. The second round of the international, third or fourth fucking round of the international break is going to come back in March, and hopefully, if we're still in the Champions League, it's going to coincide with like a plethora of games, especially in the Copa del Rey being in the mix as well. It's going to look peak, so we got to be covering our asses better.
I think something we also need to keep in mind is like around February or March, I think Militao is going to be back, so we just have to keep that in mind as well.
I hope he comes back in the best.
Yeah, but that's always the question with coming back to ACLs, because you don't really know what side of a condition a player comes back in. But overall, I think the team will consider, the manager will probably consider this as
well. Prince Arthur was mentioning earlier, we have an injury crisis and we need to rotate the players, else I fear the worst. Rotation, and Carlo, he has an aversion for rotation. That's common knowledge by now. Right. Son was mentioning earlier, Giorgio Chiellini. I have no idea how that came up, but I don't know about that. Rajat was also mentioning we need Inacio or Tapsoba, this type of a centre back. Tapsoba, I've seen a bit of him. He looks decent. He is more of in the vein of Rudiger, so I don't know how that's gonna work as a pairing. But Inacio, I haven't seen much of him. Gonzalo Inacio, if he's referring to, right?
Yeah, Gonzalo Inacio. But the player I probably look for, although I must preface by saying this, is the fact that I don't really think we're going to sign anybody in January, like big name signing. But the player I would look for is the guy who plays for Lenny Yoro. I think he did a brilliant job today against Kylian Mbappe in the game against PSG. But
what's his name again?
Lenny Yoro.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he plays for Lille. He's 18 years old. I think he did a brilliant job against Mbappe today in the game against PSG. But overall, I think there was a news like a couple of days back about Real Madrid and PSG potentially being interested in him. So that could be something to keep in mind. And I've also heard previously about Real Madrid keeping tabs on him. So that is one player you could potentially keep an eye on.
Well, like you said, the chances of us signing someone big is basically minimal.
In the winter, I don't really expect us to sign anybody. It's just going to be somebody who comes in as cover, if at all, because we don't really know what the situation with Militao is. If there's any chance of Militao coming back in February, I think they might, not sign anybody at all.
Jermaine, earlier, a bit earlier, more if you can find his comment. He was mentioning also if you can opt for one. Jermaine from Madrid.
Also, if you can one transfer.
Yeah. Even though we want from a team who would actually sell, who would it be a defender? So basically, he's asking for, one, A-list defender or a good defender who we could potentially buy. Who would it be for you, Mo?
Man, that's really a tough question. I would probably look at Bayern because I think with Kim Min-jae and Upamecano, they
who I would go for, but Kim Min-jae is a good shout. He scored a goal
with Kim Min-jae and Upamecano, hogging they are like the starting pair for them. So I think De Ligt is somebody who's been left out. So probably you could go for him or something. Like
you can be unrealistic as well. That's what Jermaine refers to.
Man, unrealistic. If I was the one who was making a signing and dream player or something, I would probably go for Bastoni or someone. Just bring him in.
Bastoni.
Yeah. But realistically,
that's my shout. Honestly, like Andrea Bastoni is the guy. And the point is, he's like.
I've seen enough of him. He's pretty good.
Ball playing defender as well. So like it kind of fits the idea of a modern defender. But I also say like Scalvini from what's he called?
Scalvini.
Atlanta.
Scalvini. What do you call him? Scalvini. No.
Scalvini. Maldini. Okay. I see what you did there.
Oh yeah. He's what 20, right? Super young.
I think he's 19, 20. Like I've seen him a couple of times, and like he's really, really, really promising. Honestly, I think he's one of those guys that
I would put forth one name, man. William Saliba. Simple as Rolls Royce.
I knew this was coming from. Unrealistic. But man, Saliba is a brilliant player. Like it's a very worthy shout.
Yeah, just too good. But who else? Prince Ado was mentioning if Jude getting suspended, we have Nico, Modric, Joselu, Brahim, Rodrigo as per attackers. We are stacked. We need defenders. I mean, Farouk wasn't really referring to that. He was just referring to how Carlos kind of stubborn with how much he rotates the squad. But yeah, man, we covered Fede, right? I guess there is no one better. We should move on to next than Jude himself. The header, man of the match for tonight. It wasn't the cleanest of the connection, but man, that is a striker's finish. I mean, who at this point can deny that ain't a striker's finish? Like, I would expect someone who is super well versed playing as a cam. He has played as a cam, but was he really a goal scoring cam? He wasn't. Even at Dortmund, he would take your odd shots and would bury them pretty expertly, but he wasn't this clinical, man. This really, really has to be acknowledged. There is no way in hell that this man has 17 goals in December. This is absurd. I'll come to you, Farouk. Early predictions are all out of the window. Nobody expected this. 17 goals in December. Talk to me.
Definitely, man. But again, I will always go back to what I always go back to.
Okay. This is fucking boring. I'm done.
It's the influence. It's the influence of Jude, man. Like that's the thing. Like, the point is, Jude basically won back the position, or I think not won back, but basically started the position that will lead to the goal. This is what you talk about as a midfielder: is that take away the goal. The goal is just a feather in his cap. The performance he had, as you said, a man of the match performance. The influence he lays on the team. The way he's able to create things out of nothing, the switches of play, the way he's able to find passes. It's impossible to get the ball off of Jude. Come to me with these things and I would agree with you. But when you told me like Jude is scoring goals, like this is not something I see, because honestly, the reason why I say this is that when Real Madrid buys a striker, when Kylian Mbappe comes to the team, the dynamics changes for Jude Bellingham. So if we're praising him for the goal, then what are we going to say next year or the year after that, or when he stops scoring? Well, the point is, come with me with the factors that will actually wow you about the fact that he stamps the authority on this, Modric was phenomenal tonight, honestly. Any other day, Modric would be the man of the match. But dude, in 70 minutes was absurd. That's why I always say to you, like, I will leave you to.
But that's Farouk. I want to contest your opinion, man. Like, how do you think that Kylian Mbappe or someone of that ilk coming into the team is going to take away from Jude's? I know it's going to take up much more space inside the box, and some of those, in inverted or between the lines positions that Jude kind of takes up will be occupied. But still, he's going to pop up, at the right place, right time, 90% of the time.
Not 90% of the time, bro. Like, that's a very high number. Like, he's gonna pop up.
That's what he's putting up, man. Let's be honest.
Exactly, he's gonna pop up here and there, but no, 90% of the time he's popping up now because he's playing in a diamond 4-4-2 formation. If you get a striker into this team, are you gonna keep playing with a 4-4-2 formation? Hell no, you're not.
I have no idea. But
there is no issue of not having no idea, because the point is, when you play with that, it means you're taking out people from the team. So you're playing.
I get your point. See, like, even if we play a traditional 4-3-3, right? He still can be a versatile box to box, and I believe still in transition he can be super lethal.
Of course, he's going to be lethal, and that goes back to what I mentioned earlier. I said my expectation of Jude is a 20-goal contribution a season, and this is very high for a midfielder.
That's super high. That's
very high for him. I mean, this is the numbers Frank are putting, but now Jude is even putting Frank to shame. Frank has more than 150 Premier League goals. More than 150, and he never scored 20 in the league. Jude is going to score 20 in the league by January. Do you think this is something he's going to keep up? Definitely not. But what is he going to do? He's going to dominate the game.
Can we live in the moment? That's all I ask.
Of course, I'm living in the moment. I'm mentioning the fact that
we shouldn't be asking, can he put this up? Nobody can ever put anything up, man. Let's be honest.
What I'm saying to you, Sunaid, is this. I am rightly pointing out the fact that what I see is a player who is able to dominate a match and stamp an authority in the game. Scoring the goal,
and he's doing that.
Tap on his feather. This is what he's doing, basically. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying, that's why I said, like, I leave the finishing to you. I'm enjoying a different part of his game. The finishing is not something that I ever cared about or placed attention to. But the ability for him to, run down, win the ball back, start an attack and end the attack, the ability to find passes, to be able to, go into spaces and all this.
Farouk, it's just like you and me enjoying different parts of a shawarma, right? You're more into.
If I mention it, I think you guys are making the same point.
You broke up my shawarma take, man. But anyway.
Yeah, it is okay. Eat shawarma. Don't talk about it too much. I'll feel hungry. But the thing is, like, it's like you guys are saying the same things. I think Farouk is acknowledging the fact that he's been brilliant in a brilliant goal scoring form. He's giving him credit, but he's also pointing out that next season, when it comes, we will be highlighting more of his other aspects of the game. His play in the deeper areas. And I think that's completely valid. And while you are also probably making the same point that Jude has been brilliant this season, but next season, if a striker comes, he'll still be brilliant because, first of all, I don't think any manager is going to take him away from the position that he's playing at. Like, I don't really see us going back to the traditional 4-3 that we used to, as long as Jude is in the team. For me personally, it's probably going to go back to the way we were in 2014-15, with James being up top and Modric and Kroos being...
and a proper pivot.
Yeah, so it is probably going to be Camavinga, Tchouaméni, or Camavinga, Valverde, or whatever, Tchouaméni, Valverde, whatever the team decides. But I think Jude is not going to be moved away from his position in the pitch. So he's still going to contribute in the deeper areas, he's still going to contribute in the forward areas. If a striker comes, whoever it may be, maybe Victor Osimhen or whatever, I think they'll have the gravity of, these players have a certain gravity where the ball always gets pulled towards them. So when, let's say Carvajal is out wide, he has a cross to play and he has two players to mark, the ball probably goes to Jude right now, would probably go to...
How the hell do they do that, right? Like, remember the Champions League, right? In crucial games, it was just Benzema in the box, but he somehow manages to find that 1 yard.
Yeah,
it just amazes me.
So that's the thing, right? Probably Jude's goal scoring form, the brilliant goal scoring form, could be impacted a little bit, but then Jude will still continue to be the same brilliant player that we're seeing right now. His touch on the ball, his skill set, his ability to create something out of nothing, that's not going to go away. And even his runs into the box, that's not going to go away. In fact, it's only going to add to us because, if we have like two players who are legitimate goal scoring threats, maybe three with Rodrigo, four with Vinicius, it just creates our team all the more dangerous, you know. So for me personally, I don't really see us going back to a traditional 4-3-3 or whatever we would like to call it. I think Jude's position is going to be the same, but like Farouk rightly said, you know, there is going to be an impact on his goal scoring from
100%.
next season onwards. But you know, Jude Bellingham is still going to be a brilliant player because, like Farouk rightly pointed out, and you have rightly pointed out on many occasions, his ability on the ball, his touch, his vision, everything about him is like just sublime.
Let me tell you this here. Like, yeah, his performances are gonna be like his overall involvement may be a slight bit impacted. You know, with
I mean, it's gonna be different. He's probably gonna get more
it's just gonna be
assists.
different. He's still gonna make a difference. But that's the main thing that I wanna always big up Jude for. No matter what situation he's put up in, he's so adaptive. He just finds a way to be influential. Like I just rate that so highly. And another thing is his temperament. Up until now, I've like if you guys go back and watch the Jude Bellingham special we had with the BBC guy, I forgot his name. That's so fucking bad of me. But
The BBC
we had
guy.
discussed. Yeah, my bad. I can't remember his name. Was it John David? It's
Nobody cares.
been
The
like
BBC guy is enough. It's okay.
5-6 months ago. We should care. He was super nice. Relax, bro. But the very fact that we discuss in detail like how much of a bite Jude Bellingham has as a player, his tenacity, his eagerness to you go into every challenge 100% was a bit. I think he had to show a bit of his cooler side, had to show a bit more maturity to earn the trust of his teammates the first 3 months of the season. Today, the Villarreal players, they got onto him, and you saw that he was up for it. He never shied away from anything. He saw that there was a rightful stamp on his feet by was it Kapoor or something, and the ref thought that was a dive. At first, and then he hesitated. But what did Jude do? Instead of talking to him directly, he just riled up the crowd even more. It just goes to show that he just has a very, very controlled nature when it comes to like even if things are getting out of hand a bit, he just knows that I'm gonna keep myself in control. I gotta do what's best for the team. I shouldn't get carried away. People underlook this a lot, man. Like people overlook this a lot. Like I mean, at 19, people are supposed to be a lot more fiery. I remember how I was at 19. I wasn't this guy. I wasn't so composed and calm. I'm not so composed and calm even now, but still.
Yeah, that's because you didn't have millions of dollars with you as well. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. But like, I mean, I always go back to this. Like, when you say someone is 19, Smith, like you're comparing like when I was 19. Like when I was 19, obviously I was stupid and useless. I didn't have millions of pounds. That's the thing. That's the truth. I mean, you hear the comments.
Somehow I doubt it. You probably have millions.
I mean, the point is like you see the comments that you hear from players like who. Okay, yeah, obviously they're always outliers there, but like you see the comments like I mean, when Vinicius was 19, he was building schools in Brazil. This is the point. Like, I mean, like, it's not like you're talking about, like, an average 19-year-old we find on the street. And the point is...
Yeah, they're in a different phase of their growth. I get it.
There is a reason why these people are joining Real Madrid. That's the thing. Like, it's not like we're going out there and buying Jadon Sancho, This is the point,
But still, the testosterone. The testosterone can get to you, Farouk,
We're not paying for Mudrik or some shit like that, man. That's the thing, man.
So then, digressing from what Farouk said, I think while you have been rightful in pointing out the good qualities of Bellingham, I kind of like to point out the fact that he does lose it sometimes because he lost it in the game today as well when there was
perfectly natural, perfectly normal.
When there was that channel against Altamira where it was Altamira or Akomac, I don't exactly remember. He kind of like pushed him out.
It wasn't Akomac, I think it was Altamira.
Yeah, so he did that and he's done that previously as well. So I think it's Cruz had to sort of calm him down. The incident that you talked about of him kind of big upping the crowd, like kind of followed it after, because he was already on a yellow card. So I kind of have to praise him for the fact that he knew when to keep himself in restraint because I think Vinicius sometimes loses it. But I think you also have to point out how the Spanish refs have the ability to get under anybody's skin.
My goodness.
They can rile up the best of players. So But overall, I think Jude is 20, but he still needs to be a little bit. Okay, I think the fact is like he should be who he is because he's being brilliant. He knows when to rein it in, so I'm happy about that. So I hope he keeps doing that. But in certain situations, probably if he goes a little bit too over, I think players will figure out the fact that this guy can be needled, like what happened with Vinicius. Last season we saw how Mallorca and all these teams used to try and get under his skin. Do all the dark arts just to get Vinicius riled up. So I just hope that Bellingham realizes where the line is and keeps himself into it. I think based on what we've seen so far, he does already. So we don't really need to point it out anymore. But yeah. But in his interviews, he comes out incredibly suave. He knows what to say, when to say it, the right things to say, and he has all of us eating out of his hands. The way he has conducted himself, and I think he'll keep doing that. There's no reason.
There you go. There you go. If you can help me out more and find Ashik's comment right at the top, I think the first 4 comments in the chat was mentioning Jude's commitment. Big up Ashik, by the way. Jude's commitment is what made that goal happen. The play started with him. He passed the ball to Lucas Vazquez and it then kept going on for the end. Yeah, Farooq mentioned it. Big up Vazquez again, man. He was phenomenal tonight. And also, Ashik was mentioning right after that, I think the goal by Villarreal was needed for the team to wake up. I agree. They didn't play with much gusto until Morales' customary goal against Real. Yeah, former La Fabrica player.
This is from the commentary, right? Him being a La Fabrica.
It is. I didn't know that.
He's not actually a La Fabrica player. The guy got it wrong. Yeah. He did a trial at Real Madrid when he was like 10 or 11, but he was rejected. He's never actually played for any of the Real Madrid teams.
Okay, my bad.
I actually got it wrong as well. I was thinking that he was from Madrid because I always knew Morales was from Madrid, but I thought he played for Real Madrid as well. And when he said that, it just confirmed. But I just made sure to double check it, and I found that he only did a trial, nothing more.
Well, the commentator they fucked me over.
But, the ESPN guys, I don't know. They sometimes get the simplest.
They don't do the research, but I'll tell you something. Morales has always been a tricky customer. Be it at Levante, all throughout the years, he has been that one man, who really has been a thorn in a side. But moving on to the second goal, Rodrigo again. He should have had a couple of goals by the time he landed the second goal. It was a bit fortunate the ball landed to him. But the finish again was pretty ordinary routine finish. But again, Rodrigo is another one of those guys who has completely taken the mantle, taken the responsibility to drive this team forward. We have discussed this countless times. But we really have to hone in on his return to form, man. First 9 games, 1 assist, 1 goal. The next 10 games. Is it 10 goals, 5 assists? That's absolutely crazy, and it hasn't been against mediocre opposition to say the least. There has been a couple of games where we think, we should be putting those teams to bed, but he has come in, clutch big time in the Champions League and in La Liga as well, man. Farooq, Rodrigo, complete 360, yeah.
100%. And Rodrigo was bound to have this breakthrough this year, but he started a bit slow, which is basically something that you can you can associate with the change in formation and the lack of understanding of what to do and what not to do. And obviously the injuries also have not helped, but I think Rodrigo finally has grown into the role, and especially with the absence of Vinicius, he has actually taken on the mantle and trying to be the main man for the the attacking unit of this team. And yeah, I think the sky is just it's the beginning for Rodrigo. Honestly, I do genuinely believe, I predicted at the beginning of the season that we should expect a breakout season from Rodrigo this year, honestly, and I think he's beginning to match that hype, and I hope he continues this.
Mo, quick thoughts, Rodrigo?
Yeah, I think Farooq said something that kind of sounded funny to me. He said injuries haven't helped, but I think injuries have helped Rodrigo a lot because in the absence of Vinicius, he has really grown to the top. I think at the start of the season I said something that Rodrigo is going to be critical to see how far Real Madrid goes this season. I still stand by that. When Rodrigo is in form, he's probably the guy with the best eye for goal in the team. Aside from Bellingham, because at the start of the season we didn't really know Bellingham was going to do this. We knew Bellingham was a good player, but we didn't really know that Bellingham is a great goal scorer. So for me, I think the point is still valid. Rodrigo is going to be incredibly critical to how far Real Madrid go because his goals are going to be key. We don't really know what sort of form Vinicius comes back. When he does come back, maybe Vinicius comes back in his 21-22 form where he was scoring for fun. Last season also he had some good goal scores. So we don't really know. But with Rodrigo, we have always had this thing that this guy has the calmness inside the box. To score a lot of goals, to score a lot of key goals, and who can take away from him the game against Manchester City. So this guy has an eye for goal. This guy has a knack for the incredible. So I think he's going to be incredibly important. And to see him back in form is incredibly endearing.
Also, we have to really highlight his understanding with Jude Bellingham. It's top notch.
Yeah,
they just have a telepathic understanding of where each.
I think a lot of credit in that also goes to Jude because he's also been able to establish that understanding with Joselu. He's done that with Vinicius. He's done that with everybody. Yeah,
Modric.
So a new guy coming in and adjusting with his teammates so well is is rare. It's seen very rarely. So I think Jude deserves a lot of credit on that end.
Yeah. But my only gripe again, I love the guy so much. People were running with the story that Jude is my new adopted son. But
no, man, you were saying you are the third Bellingham brother, not son.
Okay, brother, whatever the case. Rodrigo has been numero uno for me from ever since the Champions League semi-final. It hasn't changed. It will never change. Both of them have equal, places in my heart, but Rodrigo obviously has to have a bit of a special position, and I have to stick by that. And I was really disappointed in the way he started. But again, this game, the gripe I had is that he could have had a hat trick. If it wasn't for Jorgensen having an absolute blinder, a couple of the times he was 1-on-1, he would have bagged a couple more goals, which would have really been super beneficial for his confidence. But although it doesn't need it, when you look at it at this point in time, because he's flying. But yeah, man, Rodrigo again, really good. Take away the goal, his overall performance is just has gone up couple of levels. I've never seen Rodrigo being this involved. I've always attributed Rodrigo to be the guy who drives the defenses, never keeps trying. Sometimes when things are going against you, heads down. Heads down, crosses with intent, just being the difference. But now I see a Rodrigo that is truly confident. That was kind of, not the case the first couple of months. But yeah, man, we have to move on to, I think probably the most special goal of the night. It is the most special goal probably of the season. You could argue, the way Brahim maneuvered the turn, slalom past couple of men, sat down the goalkeeper en route to finishing the goal, man. I'll come to you more first. You were mentioning it in the group chat that Brahim has been handing out L's to you since the start of the season. Obviously, we had differing opinions on where he would impact our side, and I believed you had a valid point, and you believed I had a valid point as well. But we were coming from different angles. But now, the way the team is looking and the way injuries have kind of impacted the direction the team is going to go head into 2024, I think we are kind of on the same page regarding Brahim, where he is quite pivotal.
Yeah, man. I think the one point that we agreed even before was Brahim had incredible talent. The point where we differed was my doubt about him stemmed from the fact that, first of all, I didn't know how he fit into the team because there was Vinicius, there was Joselu ahead of him, and
this was before the diamond came into the picture, right?
No, this was this was when the season had started, but nobody had gotten seriously injured. So
right.
I had my doubts about where he would fit in, and
minutes. Minutes were looking super dry for him.
And if you're being honest, Ancelotti was also kind of down on him. I don't know if this happens if Güler hadn't gotten injured, and Joselu was ahead of him, and Vinicius, Rodrigo obviously ahead of him. So And the second doubt I had about him was his consistency. I wasn't sure. Like if we know that he has the ability to do the unthinkable in certain moments of time, but we didn't know that he could do it consistently over the period of the season. Right now, it's already half of the season, so I think some of that has been assured because I think I have to give him credit because he's been doing this. He has forced himself. I think a couple of weeks ago you asked a question where you asked if Joselu was ahead of Brahim or Brahim was ahead of Joselu. I said for me Joselu is still ahead, but I think that has completely changed, and I think Javier was right for the day where he said that Brahim is ahead of Joselu from the starting position. So I think it still holds true. If starters are missing, Brahim has probably done enough to earn a spot, and I think that's something that I've been surprised about Ancelotti because previously
Super surprised. Like, who in their right minds thought that a formation that requires ideally two strikers to be working in tandem, Rodrigo and Brahim, not exactly the most physically imposing figures, to take center stage and deliver?
Yeah, that's also a valid point, but the angle from which I was coming in was the fact that I've never seen Ancelotti to change his mind over players previously. So this was the first time I've actually seen him, be like this.
He did it again with Lunin.
Yeah, so Lunin and Brahim, two players, forcing their way into the game that I didn't really expect. So I think Brahim, he deserves a lot of credit for what he has done. But I think we still need to see what happens in the second half of the season, the key part of the season, because Vinicius is going to be back. So we'll see how it goes. And I still stand by my statement that if you're chasing a game and we need a goal, it's still probably going to be Joselu. So, and when Arda Güler comes back, I don't really know what kind of situation that would be. So it's going to be an interesting mix, but I think Brahim has done himself well, and I think he has forced himself into the plans in a way that I didn't really think possible at the start of the season.
That's a bit harsh on Brahim, don't you think, Farouk? Like, I get where Mo is coming from, but I strongly believe that he'll have a big say in our fortunes this season, even if it's from the bench.
More, man. 100%. I think this position is Brahim's to lose. Honestly, I think the return of Arda Güler, or I think even with Joselu right now, like they have to fight Brahim to come back into this team, man. I share the sentiments of more like Brahim is more than or superseded all expectations, because as rightfully, like we always just thought like, okay, there's someone who has a lot of talent, but he's one of those luxury players that shows up in 1 in 5 games, 1 in 10 games, and if he gets a run of game, will be able to deliver consistently. But I think that's why I just genuinely believe that the performances he has given, the ability to change the idea, the mind of the coaching staff. I believe that even the return to full fitness of the players will allow. I believe it's his position to lose, that it's being that first option of the bench. I think at least he has earned that over the past 2-3 months that he's been starting.
Farouk, I think like what Mo mentioned, right? Like for Lunin, it has always, like, regarding goalkeepers, like in my very layman opinion, right? Like I'm not a coach, but in my humble opinion, like goalkeepers have it easy. If they have an easy game, or if they make it consistently easy on the eye, right? Do the right things, do the stuff that doesn't really make people panic, they can get away with it. But Brahim really had to come into the side, earn the trust from the get-go, and even after he earned the trust, he was dropped again. We didn't see him for a couple of weeks. Remember, he was having a hot streak, and then he went missing for like 2 to 3 weeks, and we were wondering like, oh wait, so Carlo is really going down that road that we feared that he will go down. The road where meritocracy doesn't really stand a chance. But now that we see Brahim is truly excelling the way he is, we didn't expect that back then, did we, Farouk?
Nah, definitely not, man. Not at all, honestly. And as you said, like it goes to show, the amount of, and that's the one thing actually you also have to create with Brahim. You guys were talking about Jude earlier. I think you have to create as well, the understanding that he has created with the players that are around him as well. That's one thing that actually, is really, really interesting, because you can see the way he plays, intricate 1-2s with either it's Jude or, it's Rodrigo, or even if it's with other midfielders like Luka Modric as well. It's really, really interesting. And as you mentioned, the goal he scored, like it's one for the ages, man. That tells you, how much confidence, he's getting from his teammates, from the coaching staff, and more importantly, how confident he's feeling in himself. So definitely, I think, Jude has, Brahim has, superseded everything, honestly. And the interesting thing is, these coaches see better than we do. As you mentioned, like he was dropped. For someone else, it might be an issue of sulking that, oh yeah, but what else do you want me to do and stuff like that, But he, put his head down, put into work, and again, he's back in the team. So that's a lot of credit to him, honestly. Like, just I hope he can continue this into the important parts of the season, because I think Brahim definitely has the chance to be an X factor going into important matches.
That's one thing that's one incredible reason why I always had this urge to back him. I'm not easily impressed by players. I know I'm a bit more lenient. Maybe I have to be as the host. I have to kind of balance the equation. But me, very well how I react to adversity in the chat. Like, I'm going for people's throats right away. But I would look back. See, in retrospection, I used to follow Brahim very closely at Milan. I was very keenly intrigued by Milan's sudden change of tone. Their outlook, how they chased that Scudetto down. Was it during the pandemic, right after the pandemic? I'm not sure. But one thing that set Brahim apart from so many of their on the fringe players who were trying to break in was his determination, was his character, was his undying passion and determination to work for the collective. It's not easy. Pioli is not a guy that's not easily impressed. Is not a guy that really gives people a pass. But Brahim was a very key cog in their machine. And yeah, man, that's the day I was that was the period that was completely confirmed in my belief that this guy has the metal, has the mentality, has the right temperature to cook in Madrid. But big up Brahim, and I think we have a lot more special moments for him coming from him this season. It's gonna be very, very key in deciding where our fortunes lie. Moving on from Brahim, Modric, we touched up on him. The fourth goal, it was a poor back pass. We capitalized on it. Rodrigo could have on the pen, maybe debatable, but Modric found a nice finish. It does his confidence wonders. We touched up on him. I think we should talk a bit about Kroos as well. What is that we haven't mentioned about the metronome already, Mo? Same old stuff, yeah. Standard 8.
Yeah, Kroos is Kroos. I think the funny thing about Kroos is, like, I was actually gonna save this for the preview, but I think now that you brought Kroos up, we're just gonna talk about it. I think it's the fact that Nagelsmann came out in the press today and said that he wants Kroos back. So I think that's a potential thing to look out for. Apart from that, Kroos, incredibly brilliant. He just showed his class that he's always shown on the pitch. So I don't really know what else you can say about him apart from everything that we have said in every episode that has come before this. So, Kroos, incredible player. Don't go back to Germany. Stay with Real Madrid. Keep resting and be in this one.
Simple as, man. It just amazes me. Like how I attribute Jude Bellingham. Kroos is the guy. When I used to mention that when people are in trouble, they look to Jude to get out of trouble. Kroos is the man that has been doing it for ages. Like even for Modric, he is the man he looked towards if he wants to get out of a tight spot. Kroos just is that guy, man. Literally, he's that guy. Like, if he's him with Jude Bellingham, with Kroos, he's a general. Literally.
I think that was apparent incredibly. There was a brilliant example of that when Kroos went off and Tchouaméni comes on. Our build up from the deep was like
non-existent, zero.
Yeah, it kind of like was handicapped a little bit because Kroos he has this ability to play the ball in tight spaces. Even if you give him the tightest of space passes, he'll somehow still get the ball out of it, and he'll play the right pass. I think some players who are not Kroos have to, even if they receive the ball in tight positions, they kind of like look for the easy pass. But Kroos has this innate ability, this knack to figure out the best possible pass and play it. I don't think every player can do that. It just talks about how lucky Real Madrid as a team were, that Bayern Munich in all their wisdom decided the fact that this player wasn't worth giving the money he was asking for. So Bayern's loss is Real Madrid's gain, and I think what again it has.
Who was the CEO? He was a dick. Who was it? Was it Rummenigge or was it
the other guy? Uli Hoeneß.
Other guy, right?
Uli Hoeneß, I think. Yeah, I think Uli Hoeneß.
It was Uli Hoeneß. Yeah, Uli Hoeneß.
I just remember his face, the bald guy.
Well, Bayern, they have a certain arrogance. I guess it's warranted, but with Kroos they failed. But one man's loss is another man's gain, man. Like I was surprised as well. I still remember, as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, like boasting to my to my uni mates regarding how 20 million fetched us, a World Cup winner, in his prime, a guy who can, like, I still remember, like, Cruz used to play pretty advanced, right? Like early on in his career, like, so never used to watch Bundesliga, but my memory was from FIFA that he is a cam, he's a 10. But then I got to know he can play an 8 and a 6 as well. So I used to brag the fuck out of, the Cruz signing, man. Like, I literally remember how that kind of got me over the Xabi Alonso blues, because I was incredibly disappointed, like I mentioned, countless occasions, here, that losing Xabi was very hard to take. But yeah, Cruz negated that from the first Clasico itself. I still remember, how well he performed. But yeah, man, Farouk, anything to add on Cruz that we haven't really?
Farouk, before you talk about Cruz, I just want to ask you something. It was Ancelotti who changed his position, right?
I believe so. Yes. Because he was playing pretty advanced, even in Pep's system, right? More.
Yeah, that's what I was asking Farouk, because I don't really remember where he played in Pep's system.
Cruz's position?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he used to play advanced in Pep's system, but when he came to Real Madrid, that was the first time Ancelotti retreated him into deeper areas.
Even I think even in the semi-final, like, he didn't play as an 8. He didn't play as an outright 8 against us.
I think he was injured when they played against us.
Was he?
Yeah, he didn't play against us.
In the second leg, I remember seeing him. No,
he was injured.
Okay, maybe my memory is fucked up, but yeah. Go on, Farouk.
Yeah, you were actually, like, he played for us, like, as a 6 when he came, because then, if you guys could remember, like, we lost Xabi Alonso and Khedira had this health issues, and then Casemiro was on loan at Porto, and then all of that happened. So there wasn't a lot to put there, and then Toni Kroos was trying to fill in the gap. But I don't think Carlo was the guy who changed his position, though, because I kind of remember him playing for Germany in a deeper role as well.
I think that happened after Ancelotti changed his position, although I'm not sure.
Okay, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't, I wouldn't want to. I'm not exactly sure what it's been like or like there. But yeah, definitely, like, he played, he started playing deeper for us on the Carlo in 2015, actually, 2014-2015 season, and then it's been what it's been so far. And finally, the man got a rest today. I was wondering, like, if they're gonna sub him, because always, it's Modric who's been subbed. But it's good that he was subbed, and I hope that Nagelsmann, actually, I hope Cruz blocks Nagelsmann, so Nagelsmann just keeps sending a message and they never get it delivered, that kind of shit, because we don't want Cruz to go to a shitty, contaminated national team. It's better to let them do their things.
Well, Rudiger maybe didn't catch the virus, but you have a point there, man. You have a point there. You have.
I mean, Sunil, you say that Rudiger didn't catch the virus, but when he plays for Real Madrid, Rudiger is a completely different player when he plays for Germany.
Isn't it because the shape is completely different? They play a back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Rudiger for Real Madrid, no virus. Rudiger for Germany, temporary virus.
Well. See, whenever I've seen Rudiger play for Germany, he has a tendency to play like he did at Chelsea, to be extremely optimistic regarding his positioning. Maybe that plays a role. I don't know.
Who's his partner in the German national team?
Isn't it Sule?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. Farouk, do you know?
It's constantly changing in my
Farouk,
memory. I haven't seen much of
it. Sorry, my bad. I'm not sure, actually. I don't, I always say football.
Sometimes it's Sule, sometimes it's Jonathan Tah, who else? Anyway. But it ain't great. Schlotterbeck also sometimes, He plays wing back, sometimes he plays centre back, Yeah. But it ain't great partners. You have a point. But Malshida Vimukti is in the chat. He was mentioning Antonio Silva is probably the most promising player, but I don't think Madrid will go very hard to sign a Galactico player as a centre back. Antonio Silva of Sporting?
I think he's at Benfica, no?
Benfica, my bad.
Gonzalo Inacio at Sporting, I think.
My bad. Yeah. Antonio Silva is going to cost like 70 odd million. Though,
I think both Inacio and Silva are expensive. I think Antonio Silva is also a Jorge Mendes aged client. Not 100% sure, because when the rumors about Inacio were there was also this rumor that Jorge Mendes is going to be involved somehow. So, but the thing is, like, the only name I've seen concretely linked with Real Madrid is, like, a couple of days back, the one I mentioned, Lenny Yoro. I've heard this before as well, so I think that would be a name to keep an eye on, because there's always the comparison to Varane, with him coming from Lens and doing what he did at Real Madrid. So I think that's the comparison that has been made. With Portuguese, I think, like Suned, you have rightly pointed out, they're incredibly expensive, so that might not be the way to go down, especially at this moment.
Yeah. Well, I for one know that we're not going to spend anything north of 10 million. Even 10 million is a big, guess.
There was this rumor. I don't know if you guys heard about it, that Real Madrid potentially need to offload like 70 million worth of players, by the end of the season. I don't really know how true that is, but there was a potential. There was this rumor. So
is this something to do with FFP? Really?
No, man, it's not about FFP. It's about balancing the budget at Real Madrid.
Balancing the budget.
So they have to raise like 70 million from transfers and everything.
Sid did tell me a couple of weeks back that Perez doesn't seem to be happy with how the stadium looks from the outside. So he wants to do something on the stadium as well. I was like, fuck that.
I think the
what
work
more needs to be done?
I think the work is still going on the slats and stuff, because I've heard about the criticism directed towards those stuff. But we'll see. The stadium is not yet finished. They pushed back the inauguration until the end of the season. So
end of the season, yeah. Well, I hope we don't spend any more money on the stadium. And literally, come on, man. Like, we spend more money on the stadium and sacrifice on signings. People
I think the fact of the matter is,
Champions League.
We already spent like close to $1 billion, right? So you're not gonna waste it more. Like, you're not gonna let it go. You have to get it done in the top shape. I think especially for Florentino, this is a passion project. So
I know, but it shouldn't be the sacrifice of the future.
It's not going to be the sacrifice of the future. The thing is, like,
it's not going to be, but I know.
Even if they go for like they spend $1 billion, right? Florentino in this connection in the financial world has gotten the loans at incredibly low rates. So
Malshida Memukti, again, big up Malshida. He was mentioning my Madrid, he or she, my bad. He was mentioning why Madrid are so cheap when it comes to transfers. Madrid also broke like Barca. What the hell? It's calculated, right? It's pretty calculated.
We don't want to be broke as Barcelona, so that's why we don't really spend like stupid
That's a very good point. Yeah, simple as we have to be a lot more methodical in the modern era, especially post the pandemic. How we go about transfers. We can't be.
It isn't wise to be spending like 70-80 million on centre backs. The thing is, like, especially when you have players from like a Portuguese league, which can be hit and miss sometimes. So you just have to be careful.
Well, Guardiola, I've seen him have some very, very hairy moments. For someone who is 80 million worth. Is he really 80 million worth?
Yeah, I mean, that was also incredibly expensive. Is because, like, the power of the Premier League is like they're spending 80-90 million euros on a centre back, and then they have the ability to bench him. I think Real Madrid, no matter how good our finances are, we are never going to be able to do that. Where you sign a 100 million player and then you rest him and then go on next summer and sign if we sign Hazard and then we had to rein in our spending because it didn't work out. So
yeah. That's I saw that coming so many years ago before that happened, but still it happened, and I look back on it like a very bad chapter. I don't want to get reminded of it. But Farooq, man, final thoughts. Let's slowly wrap this up. 20 injuries. We're just in December. How Carlo Ancelotti has handled the ship has been pretty commendable.
Yeah, definitely. Like, as I mentioned, at the beginning, like, you have to give credit to the man, whatever you think of him or whatever you don't think of him. Like, I don't think there is any coach, like, it's not just about the training injuries, it's about who are those injuries to, You look at the players, you look at the team. And I always say this, maybe I'm wrong, like, maybe, Mo, for example, has watched maybe much more longer than me have. I have never seen a team as reliant on a goalkeeper, like, at least a Real Madrid team as reliant as we have been on Thibaut for the past, 18 months. So, like, his injury basically, took out all of the hope and what is not. But then all of a sudden you see how the defense also have stepped up, So, yeah, okay, we make fun about the lack of tactics or what is and what is not. But you have to give, credit to the coaching staff as well for the ability to actually, know that, okay, yeah, like, our lifeline is gone. We need to find a way to, to short things up. And, yeah, the form of Rudiger helps us also, launching the whole 4-4-2 situation without strikers. And all of these things, and then couple that when, the players fall like flies and this and that. Basically, you have 6 first teams are out. It's a team of 11 players. 6 of them are out. It's honestly, it's phenomenal what they have done. Like it's nothing, short of a miracle, I think, in my opinion. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season, but whatever happens, you can look back and know that Carlo was really dealt, really, really bad hand, especially starting the season without a striker and then changing the formation and then getting injured and what is and what is not. But he's been really dealt a really bad hand. But honestly, he's not going to pull a Conte or a Mourinho, but rather, he's just satisfied with what he has and he's trying to, manage his way through like the true gentleman that he is. Of course, just find a way to, move past it all. And yeah, honestly, you can, at least for this reason, there is nothing, you can say negative, towards Carlo and his coaching staff.
Bro, so Ned, we should contact NASA and find out if there were any UFOs orbiting the Earth, because I'm pretty sure Farouk has been kidnapped.
This is a clone, right?
Yeah, this is like a very unbelievable version of a clone, because I don't believe this is our Farouk.
I'm telling you, man, eyebrows can humble people, but yeah, it's early signs. But I like this Farouk, giving due praise on a night that deserves.
I mean, it's okay. Anyways, let's not.
Yeah. The bigger picture is the bigger picture, Farouk. We don't focus on the bigger picture. It's for tonight. It's for tonight. It's for tonight. But small question before we, pull this off. Loden Kepa is still out for interpretation, right? Like this game doesn't really give us an insight. Although I think Lunin could have done a bit better, with the goal. I may be being a bit harsh, but yeah, Mo.
I think
any takeaways?
I think you have a point about it, because I think Villarreal has 1 shot on target, 1 goal, so it doesn't really look good. But
maybe caught him by surprise.
Yeah. But then that's the point I was trying to make. That Morales did well. His ability to confuse the keeper, and but I think even in that situation, Lunin kind of did well to get a boot to it, try to pull off something. For me, I think the answer to if Lunin is the undisputed number 1 is going to come in the next game, because I remember before the game against it was a couple of matches ago, Ancelotti did a pre-match and he said that he's probably going to be rotating. So I want to see if Kepa starts in the midweek. If it's still Lunin, then probably for me it's like debate has been settled. It's Lunin's to lose. But if Kepa starting, then that means that Ancelotti is still rotating and giving everybody.
I'll be incredibly disappointed if Lunin is dropped for Alaves and Kepa starts. Like I'll lose it. Like he deserves to stay. He deserves to keep his spot. He hasn't done anything, alarmingly wrong yet for him to be dropped.
I think on the flip side, Kepa did nothing wrong to be dropped either.
But some of his positioning, some of his decision making, really, I'm not the only guy. There are, people like me who just doesn't
I'm
like
with you. I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
If you can call that a style, that is.
I'm playing the former Farouk's advocate, because this Farouk is not the same one. So.
Okay, fair. Farouk, what's your sentiment, man?
Yeah, man, I just always go back to that. I personally believe that we need to have stability, with this, because I totally share your sentiment that, maybe Lunin should have done better. But then, in my mind, the point is that, okay, these guys are not Courtois. So, when it's a one-on-one, it's a goal. For me, if it's Courtois, if it's a one-on-one, I know that we have a chance, If it's a one-on-one with these guys, I know it's a goal. I don't have any, qualms with that. But as I said, a couple of times, I don't want rotations with my keeper. I just want one starting keeper and let's just be behind him, If it's Kepa, it's Kepa. If it's Lunin, it's Lunin. Okay, who is it going to be? That's their choice. Because for me, eventually both of them are same. They don't, there is no, a huge difference for me at least. So, if it's going to be Kepa, let it be Kepa. If it's going to be Lunin, let it be Lunin. But, having rotations week in, week out, come on, that's even going to affect the confidence of the keeper, because it means you make one mistake, you're out. So it's, by trying to not make a mistake, you definitely make mistakes, So that's just the thing, honestly.
You have one point. I'm also of the same, same sentiment that, keepers positions are not to be messed with, that's why, some coaches, they stick through thick and thin with their keeper, because it is the position that requires the most, level of confidence to maneuver, simple as. The defense today wasn't exactly tested. The one occasion they were, they, completely, looked out of place. But Alaba, I remember, had a couple of good blocks. Rudiger, usual, cool, calm, best. Even had the audacity to, taunt. Was it Petraza down the near the corner flag? Had a neat little back heel to, knock the ball off him and on a corner. Showed us that he still has it. As someone who used to showcase it on a more regular basis with Chelsea. Vasquez, like we alluded to, had a phenomenal game. We let Vasquez do what he does best, and he really did combine well down the right. Mendy, for the time he played, he was okay. Fran, usual shortcomings that we expect from Fran, but he was, I think, steady Eddie. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Chouameni, like we discussed, a bit rusty. Hopefully he gets his rhythm back. Ceballos, what am I supposed to say about Ceballos, man? I don't want to pile on him on a day like this. We just hope he doesn't
Ceballos had some good passes. He played some good balls. I don't really know what you are talking about.
Okay, fair. In a game that was done and dusted.
Sneijder just made up his mind that Ceballos can be a contributor.
Yeah, for me, he has to show me something. Remember the Villarreal Copa del Rey quarterfinal. I came on here in the post match, and I actually held my hands up. I told all of you that this guy deserves more of a chance. And what did he do with the chance he got? He didn't really excel. We remember that. So
I
just
think
have that.
Come the end of the season last year, Ceballos played well.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say, man. You're not remembering well, Sinead, man. After that, towards the end of the season, Ceballos was a really impactful.
He was good, Was he someone that we wanted him to stay? More literally said, I think was it last post match or something. He said that
the thing is there's a reason why he got a renewal, right? Yeah, for me personally, I the reason I didn't want him to stay is not because I don't think he's a good player. The reason I didn't want him to stay is because I don't really think it helps him to stay at Real Madrid, because he's not going to be ahead of the likes of Cruz.
So that answers my question. That answers my question. He's a good. I don't have any doubts that he is a decent player.
Man, if you have 6 players in the midfield, not everybody is going to play, and not everybody is going to be at the level where they're going to be.
I don't want to argue about this, but
we look for some. Who do you think is going to come
for
to
competition from the bench? He's not exactly someone that's going to,
Can you name me one midfielder that's going to come to the team and actually provide competition to these players?
Someone in the ilk of Dani Ceballos who's willing to sit on the bench, you mean?
No, I mean a player that you're talking. You talk about competition, right? What kind of player are you talking about? Just name a player that's going to give competition.
So regardless of price, regardless of
just a player that, exactly.
Someone like Enzo. Simple as.
Who is Enzo? The 100 million Enzo?
He was 100 million because it was for Chelsea. Imagine we got him for 40 million.
Man, we wouldn't get him for 40 million. I don't really know.
I know, but I'm telling you, he asked me for an unrealistic answer. I told him my answer. Ceballos' levels are very finite.
I get your unrealistic answer. The only point I had, I kind of couldn't believe was when you said 40 million. But I get your answer. But today I'm telling you, if he was in this team, he wouldn't be getting ahead of the team in front of anybody, and his performance was going to be there because he wouldn't have the rhythm. And then we will be making this point. Enzo doesn't really have that, and he needs something to do something that impresses me and ask for him. And maybe he.
I don't want to fight over a guy I've given up on. See, if he whenever he had gotten enough rhythm, enough games on a stretch. Yes, I've given him due praises when he does well, but I've never felt like he's the guy that I need starting next season or next game. I'm not like, oh, why did he start? Maybe I would want over there for a couple of weeks, but after that he's completely out of the equation. Why does that happen? If he was that great, he would stick to his.
Man, if he was that great, he wouldn't be at Real Madrid right now.
Exactly, that's the point.
Well, you guys have very fond memories of Dani Ceballos. I don't.
It's not about having fun. It's just that you need certain kind of players to be your substitute.
Oh yeah, 100%. I respect Lucas Vasquez. I watch for him.
Man, Ceballos is better than Lucas Vasquez. Come on, don't say Benjamin that.
Oh my God, really? Oh my goodness, he's better than Lucas Vasquez, yeah? You people forget how crucial Lucas Vasquez has been to us in big knockout ties.
Man, he can be
Champions League games.
He can be crucial, but then on pure talent, Ceballos is much better than Lucas Vasquez. Come on, man. That's not even a question. Even Lucas Vasquez will tell you that Ceballos is better than me when it comes to pure talent.
Fair. That's your opinion. That's not mine. Okay, I beg to disagree. Lucas Vazquez is a phenomenal player that doesn't get the praise he deserves. He has the techers, he has the technique to be better than Dani Ceballos, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I remember Dani Ceballos running through on goal in the Champions League final. Looking to put an end to the game. He just looked backward. That's not the guy I want to be watching for, but it is what it is.
Man, why was he looking back? He was actually trying to play somebody else on you. There's a
Great job.
But I don't really know. You're just looking for excuses to shit on Ceballos. I don't
No. This is.
Man, the thing is, like, you don't really have to go, like, all annoyed and, I don't know, kind of making random noises. The thing is, like, I understood the point you're making, but the thing is, like, Ceballos is Ceballos. He does, when he comes on, he gives whatever the best he is.
All I would ask the listeners to hone into is, if this guy really rated Ceballos, he'll be like, we want Ceballos next season. We want him. But he's like, no, I don't think he's gonna get a chance. So why do we want to force him to stay? But it is what it is. It has been a conversation that we used to be having since when? Ever since we started this podcast, remember? I used to be like, Dani Ceballos is not good. Farouk and Mo used to be like, no, he's actually good.
Okay, the thing is, like, Ceballos is one of the biggest reasons why we won the Copa del Rey last year.
I would agree to it.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, he's in completely shit.
He is not.
He has a role to play.
Oh my God.
From the day that we started this conversation, I've always said that Dani Ceballos has a role to play in this team, right? He has a role wherein he can come in and contribute off the bench. And Dani Ceballos has a history of doing that for Real Madrid. He has scored 3 goals. He has been important in important matches. And you're talking about Lucas Vazquez, when Lucas Vazquez doesn't have a single game where he has done what Dani Ceballos did in the Copa del Rey last year. Lucas Vazquez is a good player. He's a good squad player. Okay, he fills in very.
My memory is shit. I would go into
archives. You can go into archives. You can do anything. You're not gonna find a single game where Lucas Vazquez came on and changed the game.
Okay, guys, come.
It's gonna be coming up. We have the break coming in. We might organize a Dani Ceballos versus Lucas Vazquez, special where me and Mo square off. And try to break down who is more pivotal, who has been more pivotal to their sides throughout their tenure with us. Are you down for that? I'm down for it. So let's do it.
I don't think it's an argument, because the point is that Lucas Vazquez is part of a 5 Champions League winning team.
It's not even just being a part of a 5 Champions League winning side.
Therefore, this ball. Anyways, that's a whole different
anyway. Like we can all have different opinions. That's what makes football such a subjective sport, right? Like we can't really look from the same angle or the same page every single time. But I look forward to it more. If not during this break, we have to really cook it up. It is something that I'm very intrigued by. I don't know if I can really find enough evidences to back my claim, because my memory, like you all know, is pretty bad. But I would dig into the archives and find something that I really.
Yeah, you should definitely look into the archives and find a game where Lucas Vazquez came on and scored some key goals on his own. Yeah. I'd love to see that.
Fair. There you go. I'm up for it. But yeah, big up every single one of you in the chat. This was kind of unnecessary, but this is what you get when you come on to Let's Be Real. It's no holds barred. Nobody is ducking. But yeah, PK Hall in the chat. Big up PK Hall, man. Inacio or Dragusin? I haven't heard of Dragusin. Who is he? Mo, do you know?
I don't really know much about him. I've heard the name, but I don't really know much about him.
Well, what is he? Is he Serbian, Croatian?
I don't really know much about it. I just heard the name.
The name is unique. But yeah. Big up PK Hall, man. If you're new here, don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 2K. Big up to all our audio listeners. Again, we have less than 20 from 1K on Spotify. So if you haven't smashed the follow button already, do it, please, man. It really helps the algorithm. Also, the same applies for Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all of that. Big up every single one of you who also send feedbacks to us on our socials, be it negative, be it positive. I'm telling you, that's what gives us the motivation. Making this conversation a two-way street is what makes Let's Be Real, right? Which makes it unique, which makes it fans speaking for fans, speaking with fans, having a conversation with fans. That's what sets us apart from the other podcasts out there. A big up our partners, Real Madrid Committee, on Instagram as well. Go check them out. They run a brilliant Real Madrid fan page. Do give them a follow. People were asking me where are our fan cams from Villarreal. Because they knew that something was up. Our team basically is on vacay, so from now until Mallorca, our team would be actually taking a break. It has been, quite a strenuous year in every regard. So they are away actually on vacay. So hopefully after Mallorca, we'll be back to speaking to fans outside the Bernabeu and whatnot. So look forward to it, people. Love for the love, man. Like, honestly, it's so humbling that you guys actually look forward to watching what we do. And some people even have pointed out how much others try to really take note of what we do and try to implement their own versions of it. But yeah, like, this is something that I never expected for us to do. For us to be looked at as an example is just something that I never really had in mind. But yeah, man, it just goes to show what
for
my
yourself,
team.
my friend. Speak for yourself. We're trendsetters, man. We central and people followed up, bro.
I mean, Farouk, you can just say that about yourself,
But yeah, I would like to thank my incredible team, man. Be it on the pod, be it in Madrid, they do a tremendous job. Like I've always mentioned, we are not doing this full time. We don't make enough money for us to be devoting our full time to to this podcast. But despite all of that work, uni, all of that, families, kids, all of that, we still manage to do this, and it's because of the love you guys show, man. So big up all of you, man. People who tune in live on our streams, people who listen to us later on our pods. It's what you tell us. It's the love that you show us that keeps us going. Simple as. PKL was also mentioned, Romanian centre back who currently plays at Genoa. Oh, okay. I don't watch much Serie A, but if he plays for Genoa.
Is Genoa in Serie A or Serie B? I think they got relegated a couple of seasons ago.
In Serie B. My bad.
No, I'm not sure. I'm just asking you.
I think they got relegated last season. You're right.
They're in and they're in the first division.
They're the first division? Okay.
They came back this season, that means, right?
Yeah, I think they came back this season. I'm not exactly sure, but I know for sure they're in the first division this season, for sure.
Okay. Well. If that's the case, I would like to look into it more, man. Like, I've never heard of this guy's name. Neither have the boys, but Dragusin. Let's keep an eye on these hype merchants, man. The thing is, anyone who is upcoming, who has some sort of a skill set that's decent, the asking price is often pretty crazy. It's more likely that we, especially when it comes to centre back specialist positions, Real Madrid have their scouts on the lookout for cheap steals. That's the only way we navigate this market. So these names, we can hypothetically speak about them. What if they come and whatnot? How would they fit? But we all know that's not how we work. That would work with the Premier League sides, the Big Six probably, but not us, unfortunately. But big up all of you, man. Again, so watch out for our preview, hopefully on Tuesday. Yeah, Farouk and Mo. I'll have his preview, and then the post-match. And then we kind of take a mini break, I guess, until the Supercopa España in Saudi Arabia.
Man,
man.
We're playing against Mallorca on second or third, I think.
Oh yeah, my bad.
On 3rd.
January the 3rd. Yeah, final home game, right before we go to Saudi. But yeah, man, big up every single one of you, and also we will be covering the Champions League draw. Mention in the comments below who you would like, as a potential opponent in the round of 16. I would prefer the easiest route. I hope we get the easiest route. Hope we don't get bumps like PSG. To add to
Question, who is the easiest one though out of the, like, at least your choice? Like, which is the easiest? Same to you as well.
Copenhagen, like we discussed, is going to be difficult, right? Like they're not easy to. I can't really.
For me, Farouk, I'll say this. The thing is, like, I there is no easy draw because all these teams are here because they deserve it. So for me personally, I don't want to see matches that we've already seen. So I don't really want to see Inter. I don't really want to see Leipzig. I don't really want to see PSG because we've played them so much already.
Leipzig would be okay. I would take it.
Yeah, I mean Leipzig. You don't really like. Okay, the discussion about whether they are a good team or a bad team is like completely irrelevant because I don't really want to see matchups that we already played. Leipzig, I think we were played in the group stage last year. Inter, we had this run of facing them in the group stage every year, and then PSG, the history is already speaks for itself. So for me personally, I want to see teams like Lazio or PSV because in my lifetime, Real Madrid have never played PSV in a competitive game. So this is a tie that I haven't seen, or maybe a club like Porto. I think last time you go back to 2004 or something, even same with the Lazio, 2005, 2006, where we faced them. So I think I just want to see a different matchup. So for me personally, Lazio, PSV, or Porto, like any one of these would be something that I want to look forward to.
Farouk, you think the same? Lazio would enable you to watch the game live, right? Probably.
Maybe, I don't know. I want Porto actually.
Porto?
Homecoming for Pepe. He gets
Pepe. You had mentioned it, I guess, on the previous.
He gets a ovation at the Bernabeu. Actually, that's for me either them or PSV. I think PSV is the weakest in the whole team. In my opinion.
Farouk, I think PSV are having a brilliant Eredivisie season.
Yeah, Dutch sides especially. I'm not
if
super
I'm not
keen.
wrong, they've conceded 6 goals and scored over 50.
But the point is, on the other hand, the options you have is to face Lazio, or you want to face, and Lazio it's Mauricio Sarri. I don't want to do that, Or the point is you want to face Inter. Like of all the teams, I don't want to.
No
face
chance, Inter, man.
Give me even Paris, but not Inter. Like Inter actually looks like a very pretty team on paper, but
Inter works as a team. Super hard. Very well drilled side.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about strengths of teams, I think Inter and PSG are two teams you don't really want to face, and Leipzig for me is probably close behind them because the way they play, I think it really kind of exposes our team. Because if you remember last season, the intensity,
very expensive.
Especially
they just go for it.
In the second game, especially, I think we lost against them. So that's something that I just want to keep in mind.
Yeah. Again, pick up every single one of you in the chat. Smash the likes if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel to look out for a preview. Hopefully, we'll be touching on the Champions League draw as well, alongside the preview on Tuesday. So, pick up every single one of you again, man. Until next time, people. Ala Madrid.
Ala Madrid.
Ala Madrid.